Hey, everybody. Good to be back with you right here in the book of Romans in the Daily Office. Today, we move into the new section, chapters 5 through 8. And Paul here transitions from demonstrating the glory of the salvation wrought in Christ and how it solves those problems of Jew and Gentile, both alike captive under the grip of sin. And now he works out the results of this salvation, what it looks like in our lives, not only in our lives, but also, as we'll see in chapter 8, like the whole creation. It is a creation embracing salvation. It's not just how our souls can go to heaven when we die. So Paul here in chapter 5 begins to list many of the benefits of being in Christ. And I think what you ought to do as you read along with your journal is make a list. Just you see a new thing, a new benefit, jot it down, put the verse number next to it, put a bullet point or maybe even a numeric list. And you'll notice that as you get down to verse 12 here in chapter 5, that Paul shows the benefits now. He shifts gears to talk about what Jesus has done in contrast with Adam. All right, so there's the old era under Adam, and now there's this new age under Christ's reign. And so here on the list, you want to go to 2 columns. You put Jesus here, you put Adam there, and you just do a little compare and contrast like Paul. You note out the parallels between the two, the differences between each reign, Jesus's and Adam's, and note the repeated phrase, much more surely now we have good things in Jesus. How many times does he say much more surely? It's a bunch. Now, you go down that list of benefits of being in Christ and consider how many of them you see alive in your life. And if you're having difficulty defining the terms that Paul's using, the concepts, I recommend you pick up a copy of Tom Wright's commentary. It's called, what's it called? It's called Paul for Everybody, Romans. And I think it's a 2-volume. Get both volumes. It's a handy paperback, a very accessible commentary, and he also has his own translation in there of the book of Romans, which I think is a very good one. You could also use, if you already have one, the ESV Study Bible. It's got very helpful commentary notes, verse by verse. I love both of those resources, and I think you will too. All right, so that's chapter 5. The list of benefits continues in chapter 6. Paul now continues to draw out the implications of salvation for Jesus's people. And you'll notice echoes from Israel's history, Israel's story of liberation from slavery in Egypt. So when Paul's talking about slavery here, he might be referring to the practice, which was everywhere experience of slavery in the Roman Empire in the ancient world. But I think it's more likely that he's going back to refer to Israel's story of slavery in Egypt, okay? How they were liberated from that slavery through the waters of baptism and the Red Sea, which illustrate our liberation, our redemption from slavery to sin in Christ Jesus. All right, so the enemy here isn't just some country, it's not just some political system, but it is the very reality of sin and death, this realm in Adam's world, this reality inside each of our Adam's heart of sinfulness, wickedness. Just as Israel was freed from the reign of Pharaoh, from their bondage to his will, so Jesus's people are brought under Jesus's righteous reign through baptism. We're given freedom. We can now obey him as our master rather than the sinful desires that are inside of us rather than the sinful pressure and peer pressure, like, well, everybody's doing it that's going on around us. We are freed to obey Jesus as Lord, not these other influences. So add these to the list you've been making, showing the impact of Jesus's work in the life of believers. All right. Now, here's one way to go through this list this week. So we're in chapters 5 and 6. Go through your list and note how Paul describes the characteristics of sin's dominance in a person's life. You see it in Adam. You see it in how he describes our slavery under Pharaoh in chapter 6. And take some time to list the ways in which you see sin behaving like that in your own life, okay? Your own sinful habits, your own sinful inclinations, the wicked little ways inside that you find persistently tempting to you. And review that list. And then once you have a good sense of that in your mind, then go back and review the ways that Jesus's salvation impacts our lives, okay? It might be a new way of looking at yourself, a thoroughly Christian way of looking at yourself. And wouldn't it be great to get that sense of your freedom and power in Christ deeper into your life on a daily basis? Imagine what it would be like to strap on that mindset every day as you get into your day. That's really the purpose of this daily office, of saying our prayers, maybe even holding on to this list as a way to remind yourself every day of the liberty, the power that you have in Christ Jesus. This is our identity as God's people. And now in the next video we'll make this week, we're going to take a look at how Israel's gone from bondage in Egypt there in chapter 6 to now receiving the law in chapter 7, and now the paradoxical problem that they have, struggling to embrace the law and yet continually failing to obey it. The story of Israel, right? And then in chapter 8, we're going to see how Paul describes our journey as Christians. And he likens it to Israel's journey through the wilderness to the promised land. So stay tuned for that video, and I'll see you in a couple days. God bless you all.